Good, good.
I'm here with Minos Papas, director of Motherwitch. Um, I really appreciate this movie a lot. It deals with grief and kind of how art can sort of uh, not take away the grief, but certainly ease it and help. I lost a brother a couple months ago, and
I'm sorry.
my artistic expression didn't quite die, but it got hampered quite a bit. And watching this sort of inspired me to, you know, didn't bring the flame back to where it was, but it certainly threw a bit of gas on it. So I appreciate that, and I really appreciate this movie. So thank you for that. And I guess we'll just start there. Kind of get a your thoughts on what started this and kind of the whole idea of art and grief and how that can heal.
Well, first of all, Eric, I'm sorry for your loss. I had a friend, an artist friend who lost a child at a very, very young age. This is years ago now. And she wrote some incredible poetry and I'm sorry, painted portraits of her son Wyatt. Um, and it really moved me. It really moved me to the point where it was extremely eye-opening. I'm not a parent. I haven't lost a child. I've lost friends over the years, of course, but just the way she wrote about her son as if he was still alive and is still alive, very much so with her, was one of the main inspirational factors for this film. And, when I was exploring her story and she was kind enough to share with me her work, and I did an interview with her for this documentary um, about parents who have lost children. Um, that sort of clicked with this folklore, this Cypriot folklore, which is on the surface, it's quite sort of innocent. These little creatures that look like kids, but they're actually part beast, and they come back and they come back at the 12 days of Christmas. They come back to Earth to wreak havoc and cause mischief on their parents. But upon closer research of these creatures, they are actually the spirits of dead, lost children who come back to haunt their parents. And just these two elements clicked for me, and I thought, okay, this is a very important topic. Child loss is actually a thing that affects a lot of parents in the US, all over the world. And at some point in life, we all lose somebody, right? We all lose somebody near and dear to us. So I wanted to make a film that could have this element of supernatural in it, that could touch on this topic instead of making sort of like a drama, a straight up drama about this issue, that could maybe be sort of heavy or too painful to watch. I wanted to create something that would have elements of magic and supernatural in it, you know?
I was kind of thinking about while watching the movie because like you remove the supernatural element of this and the sort of family drama that's going on kind of works as its own movie, and you remove all that and the supernatural elements kind of works as its own movie, but then putting it together kind of sort of gives it that little extra sauce that sort of
Yeah.
elevates it a bit.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the landscape and the background, the fact that it takes place in 1882 in this mystical, distant land that probably many viewers haven't experienced before, it just gives it this allure, I think. We wanted to create a world really and have put the audience inside that world in a very tactile way, in a very gritty, realistic way, at least at the beginning of the movie.
What's the tone on a set like for a movie like this? Because on one hand, like what you're dealing with is like, real serious business, like heavy stuff, and you kind of want to maintain that tone when you say action, but at the same time, you don't want it to be a complete bummer of a set because then no one's gonna want to come to work. But
Yeah.
then you don't want to go too far the other way because then it's like,
Yeah.
woohoo, we're making a comedy. Hey.
Right, right, right. No, that's a great question. And I think for the most part, you know, I was lucky because I had a really great cast. And when you have a cast step up and perform, the whole crew is gonna, if the performances are good, the whole crew is gonna pick up on it. And that's what happened, I think. I did a lot of setting the tone, but we didn't, it was more about just like keeping things quiet. I like having a quiet set. I like having a set where there isn't too much, talking going on within reason. But it really is about making it fun as well, especially when you're working with kids. And we were working with a lot of kids, and I love working with kids. And you start talking to kids about goblins, they're gonna find it fun, Even the scary parts, when you tell them like, okay, you're gonna be scared now because there's creatures, you heard something, there's something on the rooftop, you've got to, they love that. They eat it up, So it just becomes it becomes a game, but a game that's realistic because with the children, especially with Sifis, who played the boy, Michalakis, the lead boy, we had this kind of secret language where it was like, okay, we do a take, and then it'd be like, hey, did you feel that? Was it real to you? And he'd think and he'd say, no, I didn't feel it. And so I'd say, okay, let's do it again until you feel it. I mean, that was it. That was the extent of my direction with him. And he loved it. He didn't want to leave set.
That explains so much. I was just gonna ask where you found him because that as far as child actors go and just actors in general, he was fantastic in this. But then when you find a child actor that can kind of bring that sort of stuff to screen, I don't know, from my perspective, it seems pretty rare. And then you're just the his reaction that you just described was like, oh yeah, he was probably meant to do this.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's a very good actor. He's already got quite a bit of experience doing like TV stuff, commercials in Cyprus. Um, but there he's asked to do things that are a lot more over the top, right? And I wanted something a lot more realistic and believable. So that's why we developed that language. I was lucky enough to work with a casting director in Cyprus called Vera Andreou, who had access to a lot of non-actors, a lot of real faces, a lot of like non sort of like professionals, as well as a lot of professionals. And she had known Sifis from something they had worked on together in the past, like a commercial. We interviewed a lot of kids. We auditioned a lot of kids to make sure we made the right choice. And Sifis, I think, was just fantastic. He was into it, he was just like ready to believe. And that's what really brings his performance to life. Because, with kids, you need to, the audience needs to believe it. I think audiences can really tell when kids are just play acting. But I think he really did a great job in this.
What's the process choosing non-actors? Because obviously you got actors, they have a body of work that you can go back and look at. And it's like, yeah, they could probably pull this off. They probably maybe not right for this role or whatever. But with non-actors, you're rolling the dice and like, oh, let's hope this works.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, uh, casting to me is really, really important. It's like the number one, it's the top thing about creating good performance. If you've cast wrong, then you're never going to get a good performance. With non-actors, there's certain elements you need to look for, in my opinion, and that is, does the camera like them? Like, what do they look like on camera? You put the camera on them, you light them. Do they look good? Do they look believable? But then it's a question of how self-aware are they? Are they do can they sort of do things without being too deliberate or intentional about what they're doing? Can they forget the camera's there? If they can do those two things, if they have a certain charisma, a certain quality, camera quality, then they look good for whatever part it is. And they have this ability to do something without the self-awareness, then it's going to work usually, I think, 9 times out of 10.
What was the writing process for this like? Because I saw you have two co-writers on this along with yourself. Um, any writing I do is always by myself, so I'm always curious of how like when you get two people, let alone three, and they're all working on a screenplay, like how does that back and forth work?
Well, it was a interesting process because I mean, I also write alone, just like you, but for this one I wanted sounding boards. And the first writer I brought on was Nicolas Kurumdzis, and he helped me shape the story, a lot of the characters. I largely worked on the plot. We had a lot of discussions, a lot of back and forth. I was doing the writing, he was reading and shooting ideas back and forth. So it was kind of this back and forth sort of thing. When we got the story in a good place, I then brought on uh, Euripides, who not the Euripides, but
No, the
Euripides.
Euripides.
I
The writer of this
resurrected
movie is
him,
the Euripides.
resurrected him by painting his portrait. No, Euripides is an old friend of mine. He's Euripides Dikeos from Cyprus. He's an old friend of mine and a theater writer, and everything he writes is in the Cypriot dialect. So I brought him on to write the dialogue or rewrite the dialogue with me because his knowledge of the Cypriot dialect, which is quite different from modern Greek, was something I really wanted. And he did a lot of research to actually go back in time and find the Greek dialect of the Cypriot dialect of Greek of the 19th century. And we incorporated all the idioms and phrases from that time in the film. And some people will even recognize Italian words or French words that are in there that were used in the dialect of that time. Third part of this is we got to the shoot and the script changed again. And a film is made like three times, maybe four times, once in the writing, once in the shooting, once in the editing, and then maybe you give it to the audience, and the fourth time is when the audience reimagines it. But in the shoot, the script changed again. We had, various production issues we had to navigate. We had to condense scenes. We even had to get rid of a whole character. That created a rewriting process that I was doing on set. And Euripides was on set with me, and he was helping out in that sense too. He was one of our assistant directors. And then in the edit, of course, there was more rewriting. So the storytelling process is quite, I think quite a meandering path before you get to your final film.
What was the character that you jettisoned, and like what was their function, and did they find a way into other character that you took them and kind of put them into other characters, I imagine?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I had a character, I think the film is better without it. I had a character that was like the wise old woman. And she kind of like provides solutions and more uh, backstory to the folklore, but it was kind of a bit too expositional for me. I like to make things elliptical. I like the audience to be engaged more and leave things to their imagination. And yeah, we shed her along the way, and I think it was a good choice.
Yeah, anytime you can get rid of an exposition machine in a clever way, it's like, hey, you did good there.
Trying.
But also with so I don't speak the language. I watched this with subtitles. But one thing I noticed, and I cannot remember the line, but there was someone said something, and someone else repeated it, but instead of it was a different last word, but the last word rhymed with the first phrase that they're responding to, and that
Huh.
seemed like an English thing that couldn't possibly have been the original language, or
Don't
may
remember that.
or may,
I don't remember that example, but there are some turns of phrase used in the film, and there's a lot of songs as well. There's a couple of songs, one being a lullaby that is a traditional Cypriot lullaby, um, which has a rhyming scheme. And then there's also a scene where the villagers are all digging um, a new road for the British, for the new British overlords, and they're hard at work. And one of them is one of the older guys is just sitting back and singing this song about being under the yoke of either Ottoman or Englishman, and that it doesn't make a difference who's in charge. They're always like cracking the whip. So there are these little sort of rhyming things in there, and it's quite a musical dialect, actually. There's a musicality to it for sure.
I guess what I was getting to with that though is like you write the script, they're speaking a certain language, but then I saw the subtitles in English. I'm sure it's subtitled in other languages as well. But then you have to have someone that's like direct translation is not going to work the way you want
Yeah.
it to. So we got to change it. Who's in charge of that? Is that something you look into, or is that someone
I
some
see. I did that. Yeah, I did that. I did the translation into English. It took me a few tries. I had to get feedback on it. I was trying to be faithful to the some of the phrases that were used, some of the words that were used. Like there's an Italian word called imprimatura, and we kept that. Actually, it's in the scene in your backdrop. And we kept that same word in the hope that the audience either knows it or would go out and find out about it later, you know. Or there's a French word called promesse, which means promise, and it's close enough, but it has the flavor of that of the language of the period. So we kept that as well.
excellent. So what's been sort of the this is going to be premiering pretty soon. What's been your response on this movie so far? For me, I mean, this response is glowing because I love this movie, but like other people, like
Thank you.
what's been your response to it?
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that you liked and you connected with the film. The response has been great. We premiered last week at the International Film Festival of Rotterdam. We had three packed screenings. In fact, the last one was sold out. These really big theaters, movie theaters. It was so great to see the movie on a big screen. The response has been fantastic. People are responding really well to the world, the visuals, the performances, the story, the period, the history of it all. But also, there's one specific scene, which I'm not going to give away, but like on a big screen with a packed audience works really, really well. And it's a very, very long take, a long, slow take, and
Okay.
everyone in the audience is just like completely frozen watching the screen, waiting for the big reveal. And that was really a pleasure to see with an audience.
Without giving it away, just so I know what you're talking about, is it kind of the push in
Yeah.
where there's okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be awesome on the big screen.
And the sound works really well because as the camera moves around, the sound is moving away. You know, all these things. It's just so good. If people can get a chance to see it on the big screen at the upcoming festivals that we're going to have, it'd be great.
How do you do a scene like that? Because like the camera work obviously looks cool there, and the reveal obviously really works. But then you say like you're shooting it, you don't have the sound editing, you don't have the color correction, all that stuff. And it's like, oh, I hope this works.
Well, you design something in your mind, and working together with your DP and with your in this case the dolly grip because it was a dolly move as well. Working to get all the timing correct. We did about 5 or 6 takes, and then we picked the right one. There were only like four of us in the room. It was me, it was Jack, the DP who was operating, it was the dolly grip, and it was the boom operator. Because it was a very small space, the house that it shot in. Oh, and the actor, obviously. But yeah, it was just like, we're going to get the timing down, and I'm watching it on my monitor as the action is happening. I'm calling cues out, now this, now that. And I'm the first audience. The director is the first audience. I like working off a monitor because I'm the first one watching the movie, and you've got to be your toughest critic. You've got to be like, okay, that beat was off, cut, let's go again. And or once you've got it, then you're like, now that we got it, let's do it again, just that exactly the same way to make sure we get it again, just in case I miss something. Um, so yeah, there's all these different things going through your head. It's tough. And you've got to stay on schedule too, which is another pain in the neck.
Well, I mean that's always a thing. But speaking of being your toughest critic, is there stuff that you've done in the past where like at the time you made the movie, it's like, yeah, this is cool, and then you go back and watch it now and go, oh,
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 all the time. all the time, man.
Meanwhile,
I mean,
anyone else watches it, they don't even notice it, but you,
oh, for
it's like
sure.
sticks out like a th sore thumb.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's shots in this film that people have come and told me, that was a beautiful shot. I love that shot. That big close up. And I'm like, all I can look at is the makeup and like that piece of hair that's, out of place or something or whatever, or we should have had more of this there. It's just how it is. It's the name of the game. I think it takes a few years after completion of a movie for a director, or at least for me, to go back and watch it and be like, okay, not bad, without looking at all the imperfections.
Do you ever get a thing in your head like when like you did a thing, whether it's writing a script, finishing a movie, whatever it is, and then you've seen it so many times and it's hard to see it from a different angle, but then you give it to someone and just the fact that you know that they're watching it kind of allows you to watch it again in a different light.
Absolutely. I think when you're watching with other people, especially when it's your own work, your interpretation of that work changes. And that's why, streaming's great. We love staying at home, kicking our feet up on the couch, grabbing, your guilty food of choice or whatever, and then just watching something, binging it or whatever. But watching things with an audience, whether it's four other people or 40 other people or 400 other people, it changes the experience. It really does. You're watching it collectively. You're feeling the people next to you, how they are breathing, how they are responding, and through them, you're watching as well. And it definitely makes a difference when it's your own work because you could sit and watch something on your editing screen again and again and again, but until you bring somebody else in the room to experience it in their own way, you don't really get another perspective like you're talking about. And that's really important, especially for directors, because there's kind of this thing that a director can be too close to something. I think it's the other way around. I think directors are actually the more you watch something, the more you work with it, the more removed you become with it, the more desensitized you become to it. So you're actually becoming colder and colder. You're not attached to things, or at least I don't stay attached to things. And having somebody else there, whether it's an editor or an audience member to sort of get that new perspective is super important.
Not until you watch it with the crowd where you realize, the hair's off. What the hell was that?
Right.
But yeah, congratulations on the movie. Wish you all the success. Before I let you go, I just want to get a film recommendation from you. Either something that's personal to you or a movie that's like this one's really good and not enough people talk about it.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna say You Won't Be Alone. Like if people can find that film, it was a point of inspiration for Motherwitch, one of the points of inspiration. It's a Balkan folktale with a witch as well. Very different, but along the same vein as Motherwitch, and I highly recommend it. I think it's from 2022.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining me. Congratulations on the movie, and I look forward to seeing the romantic comedy you have after this to decompress.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that.
All
Cheers,
right.
man.